After so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear, I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet, heir to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to
Greetings, peace, and love. Welcome, family, to the NEPP podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Hafiz Lamb.
Today, we celebrate, or rather, we recognize Malcolm X's legacy and his contributions. You know, this May 19th would have been Malcolm X's 99th birthday. You know, Malcolm is no longer here with us physically, but his ideas remain relevant, and we're here to talk about that. What would Malcolm X's position be on U.S. held political prisoners, right? Malcolm spoke about a Black United Front. What would that Black United Front be regarding how we deal with U.S. held political prisoners? Black nationalism is politics that, you know, our heroes like Stokely Carmichael, aka Kwame Ture, Bobby Seale, and Huey P. Newton, founders of the Black Panther Party, you know, they focused on that, and they understood the position that they had and the leadership that they had to make that a reality regarding our national liberation struggle, our right to be self-determinate, to be self-determined. So let's talk about that. What does that mean for us in 2024? Abdul Hafiz Lamb.
Yeah, peace and love and Black power. When we talk about martyrs, and we talk about political prisoners, we also talk about martyrs, you know, and in the movement, we say that the blood of the martyr rises up as a fire, a weapon against the oppressor. Indeed, this is what happened with the legacy of Brother Malcolm X. Various black nationalist organizations have taken on the ideas of Brother Malcolm: self-determination, pride, a very, very powerful and militant critique of America, the history of America. You know, when we know the history of America and all America's crimes and atrocities, you know, one cannot walk around with an American flag on their head in the shape of a dunce cap, calling themselves faithful to this enemy of all humanity, you know. And right now we see that one of the main strategies of this enemy is to block and put a barrier between our people and the knowledge of that history and understanding, what really is a priority strategically for the enemy tells us what needs to be a strategy for us, you know. So fundamental in our strategy is knowing our enemy, knowing, the crimes he has committed against our people, and in that, the motivation must be self-determining, to be about land and independence, self-determination, self-defense. These are things that were fundamental in Brother Malcolm's communications to us through his autobiography, through his documentaries and various speeches, and various black organizations have taken up the ideology of Brother Malcolm X, the RAM, the Black Panther Party, the Black Consciousness Movement, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, and all over the country this weekend there's events commemorating Malcolm X, whose ideas are being fed to the people as nourishment, as food. And so we encourage people who are listening to our voice right now to study Malcolm and to spread these ideas, to spread this power to our people. This is a liberating philosophy, liberating ideology, very, very crucial for the freedom and justice of our people. And indeed, the people right now who are languishing as political prisoners, these are people who took up the ideas of Brother Malcolm X, as Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton did, the formers of the Black Panther Party, the Revolutionary Action Movement, and the organizations all over the place are practicing Malcolm's ideas right now all over this country. This weekend, May 19th, being Malcolm's birthday, this week and weekend, all over America, Malcolm is being commemorated and being honored. So it's for people who honor themselves, who do not identify as slaves, as flunkies and puppets, and tools of the man, TOM. We encourage our people, and we push forward the glory of the freedom fighter, the glory of the revolutionary, those who struggle and fight for freedom, justice, equality, land, and liberation. These are the things that Brother Malcolm stood for, and these are the things that are being taught right now all over America to Black people, Black power.
Absolutely. And you spoke about land, right? Malcolm said land is the basis of independence. And I think that needs to really be thought about very deeply, because our brothers and sisters in Zimbabwe, when they took back their land, they was hit with the sanctions, the illegal sanctions. And I think that when we talk about this concept, we need to look at, the Black Panther Party. We look at the Black Liberation Army. We look at these organizations who were made up of brothers and sisters that were determined to fight for their community, fight for their nation, fight for their land, right? And they understood what it means to be independent. We don't want to be independent for the sake of just waving a flag and expressing ourselves as being independent and just feeling good about just saying that. We want to know what that means in terms of its substance. And we want to have direct influence on our community, on our land, and we want that to be understood by our people, our community, so we know that we have that power to control what is going on in our community. Because politics is in everything, right? From the water we drink to the time the bus is going to arrive to what time your church or your mosque or your synagogue is going to actually open and the hours that it's allowed to run. Even how loud we can play our music, or in the fact that we could beat our drums outside, that is dictated by politics. And we have to be clear about that. We have to understand that our children and our elders, those who we love dearly, are affected by what we choose and choose not to organize for and against. And when we deal with these ideas, we're dealing with what Malcolm would say political maturity. And that is exactly what the political prisoner is dealing with, political maturity, how I'm going to understand what an idea means regarding how I relate to my ability to attain power. And I'm going to organize and I'm take action, discipline, and focus action to attain power. And I'm not afraid to die, and I'm not afraid to be incarcerated. This is the mindset of a political prisoner. And we have to respect that, because they were not afraid to put it all on the line. So now, if we understand that, what are we going to do regarding their incarceration, their imprisonment? How are we going to deal with that? What is our collective response? Malcolm talked about Black United Front, and we have to understand what that means in theory and practice, right? Because theory and practice is one and the same, because to do one without the other is to be ineffective. Mumia Abu-Jamal, in his book, We Want Freedom, on 21 different pages, he mentions Malcolm. So that lets you know how important, how influential Malcolm is to these great minds, people like Mumia Abu-Jamal, because they understand that to write the history of Black liberation struggles in America, you have to include Malcolm X, because Malcolm was brave. Malcolm told us who our enemy was and told us what was going on in our community and why it was happening, and the fact that we had to respond collectively. We had to take a position regarding coming up with solutions. And I think when you look at the fact that you have a final call right now, prior to that, it was Muhammad Speaks, and that was brought to us by Malcolm X. So Malcolm understood the fact that we had to control our own media. And that's why you have a podcast like Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition and like Black Power Media Reloaded, that's out there, that's articulating our problems and talking about solutions and actually being where the solutions are taking place. And that's exactly what the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition is about. It's about organizing Black people in the interests of Black people. So if you don't hear me or Abdul Haq Islam on this podcast, then you're going to see us in the streets with the December 12th movement, organizing around stopping the killing in our community. We recognize all forms of violence, all forms of killings that's need to be addressed and need to be addressed as an organized force, whether it's police terrorism or food apartheid. Let's question why the police are terrorizing the Black community. Why is it happening in our community that our food are of subpar quality, and we have to demand more? And Malcolm would have stood with us on these ideas. Join us this Harlem this Sunday at 12 noon at Adam Clayton Power, the State Building. Our Adam Clayton Power Boulevard, the State Building, at 12 noon. We'll be assembling. We'll be shutting down these stores. That's the December 12th movement. We'll be shutting down these stores. from the hours of 1 to 4, economic moment of silence. You know, when we talk about Malcolm, it's very important that, you know, we talk about his ideas and we talk about how to carry out his ideas. And that's what today's episode is focusing on. And we hope that you share with 10 other people, at least, in the spirit of Malcolm X, in the spirit of carrying out ideas to our people, to our community, so that we can come together. So we understand that, you know, we can have our views on our religion, we can have our views on our sports, whatever it is that is not dealing with the problems at hand. We can have our personal views, yes, but we got to put that to the side when it comes to the conditions of our people. We're not responsible for the conditions, but we are responsible for how we will respond. And now, once we understand that we're going to have to respond as a collective, then you look at what's going to be done. And you look at the fact that I can do something to get that done. And that brings us back to the conversation of political prisoners. That everybody could do something. I always say, if you're an artist, do art for political prisoners. If you're a writer, write for political prisoners. If you're a teacher, and teach about political prisoners. Whenever you're talking about political education, political science, social science, you have to talk about political prisoners, because you're talking about the struggle for power. And that's exactly what political prisoners were doing. They were involved in the struggle for power. They committed themselves to taking up action, and they decided that this had to be done by them, because who else would do it? Malcolm felt the same way. He loved his people. He had a strong passion. While he was incarcerated, his consciousness had occurred. He was a prisoner of consciousness. And while incarcerated, he got an understanding of what led to his incarceration and what were the conditions existing amongst his people and who was responsible and what had to be done. So when he comes out of being incarcerated, you know, he joins the Nation of Islam, and from that, his ideas start to advance, you know, in terms of what he's going to do. And then once he leaves the Nation of Islam, then he takes his idea to the international stage, and he understood the distinction between civil rights and human rights. And this is very important, because when we're talking about our political prisoners, we have to understand that we have to bring this to the international stage. We have to show solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine who are fighting for their land, who are fighting for self-determination. And they are, because of that, they are martyrs and they are political prisoners. So we invite anybody who's Palestinian political prisoner or who has relationships with Palestinian political prisoners. We want them to come on our platform. Let us talk about that. Let us show solidarity about what needs to be done and how it should be done. It's very important, because if we don't take control of our own narrative, then somebody else would. And now, as Malcolm said, you know, they'll have us loving our enemies and hating our friends. And that's the way that they're able to manipulate an idea. So we have to carry on correct ideas. We have to give a grasp of our narrative and make sure that our people understand that they're not alone, at least feeling how they're feeling, and we stand with them, and they need to stand with us, and together we can do something. When you first heard of Malcolm, right, what did that do for you in terms of your psyche?
It made me want to fight, you know, because, you know, coming up in America, you know, you have a whole lot of ideas out here, you know, some are very, very passive, you know, about, you know, bowing before the enemy, you know, being submissive, you know, don't fight, you know, Malcolm, you know, when I heard of him and heard his words, it really inspired me. There was power in his words, you know, and, you know, part of his method was to strengthen us and fortify us with history. Malcolm said that of all research, history is that which benefits us the most, you know, and in that history, you know, we understand, you know, we honor a hero like Brother Malcolm, and then we look at the circumstances through which he was taken from us. Right now, there was a lawsuit by the family, handled by attorney Ben Crump, and some of the information he had brought out is that days before the Audubon event, members of Malcolm security were falsely arrested, like Khalil Sultan Saeed, falsely arrested, to make it easier for the assassination to go on. Usually, also brothers, usually when Malcolm spoke, there was police everywhere. On that day, for some strange reason, the police presence was very, very scarce, So these are things, that add up, that, point us to a conclusion. Also, Brother Mustafa Hassan on security said that after the shooting, he saw a man running to the aisle with a gun in his hand. He went outside, a crowd was beating this man, and the police pulled the people off of this man and asked, is he one of ours? So these are facts that when we understand what Malcolm gave us, the love he gave us, that we are family with Malcolm, and we get this information, this should create a fervor in us, a determination in us to tear down the barriers that they want to put up in front of us, don't want us to know the truth, don't want us to know our history, don't want us to know correct ideology, so this should motivate us to do that more and more and more and more, because we know that the enemy is giving us information as to how to defeat him by what he's trying to prevent, and right now, the happenings all over the country right now, to push forward our people in our quest for land liberation, and self-determination. And in all of these struggles, the words and the actions of Brother Malcolm are fundamental, fundamental in the ideology and the practice of all our political prisoners was the philosophy, the ideology, and the work of Brother Malcolm X. So we say, long live the legacy of Brother Malcolm, and free all political prisoners. What's it called? Free them all.
Absolutely. So, it's only right that when we speak about Malcolm X, we speak about Sekou Odinga, because Sekou Odinga, he was the man he became because of Malcolm X. Malcolm X.
Sekou said that's what brought him into the movement was Brother Malcolm.
Exactly. So now it's very important to understand that, because that's why you have us right here speaking on U.S. held political prisoner, because Sekou Odinga founded the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, and we have to carry that idea out further. He's no longer with us physically, but his idea remains as long as we continue to take on that fight, become creative with the idea of raising consciousness about our U.S. held political prisoners, and letting people understand that that fight must remain. We must remain vigilant in doing what is necessary to do that, because one generation has to carry it out for another generation. So another generation know exactly what to do. And I think that, when we have literature like this one right here by Mumia Abu-Jamal, We Want Freedom, and also Murder Incorporated, we have to build up our library, because our fight must be done intellectually as well as on the ground and physically, right? We have to be where we need to be to do this work, but this work can't be done correctly unless we have proper understanding of what's going on, and raise our consciousness to what's happening, and decide that we know exactly what to do, because those who came before us made some errors. They made some mistakes, right? And in our documentation and even in our narrative, we had talked about those mistakes, because we don't want another generation to make the same mistakes. And that was the beauty of Malcolm X autobiography. When he talked about his life, he talked about what he did prior to him being conscious conscious. And I think that, you know, we have to do the same thing for ourselves. We can't be afraid to tell our story, to be transparent. And that's one of the things that I got out of this book right here that dealt with the Panther 21. They all tell their story. In this book, it speaks about Malcolm's influence on people like, as we said, Sekou Odinga, people like Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, because people started to change their position regarding how they was going to deal with organizing and rallying and protesting, because people started to get a little fed up with the nonviolent movement. So when Malcolm's ideas started talking about we had a right to be to self-defense, right. You know, people was like, you know, straight ahead with that they weren't going to be a part of that. And that's why the numbers started to increase in the Nation of Islam when Malcolm came along. And his ability to win you over to an idea, and his passion, his willingness to let you know the things that others were not too comfortable with speaking about. And that's the ideas that we have to understand. You know, are you comfortable with speaking the truth? You know, Malcolm was comfortable with being ridiculed. And I think that we all have to raise that questions to ourselves. Are we comfortable with speaking about U.S. held political prisoners? Because somebody's going to challenge you on that, you know, and I think that you have to be prepared, right? Not to please them, but for yourself, to ask yourself the question, you know, am I committed to this idea of freeing U.S. held political prisoners? And if you are a lover of freedom, if you're a lover of justice, then you are. Because if you say you are a lover of freedom, a lover of justice, and you're not fighting for U.S. held political prisoners, then are you really true to that statement? Because that statement must be backed by organized action, discipline, and focused action. And the only way that you can be disciplined and focused is through political education. It's through having a very strong understanding about what's going on. Because you have to continue to teach yourself and others around you, and you have to be creative with ideas and as you present them to people, right? There's images that you can use that could say more than your actual words. One of the things that the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition has done is actually be in the community of Queensbridge. We built a relationship with that community, and we are involved in a grievance support group where we discuss problems that people are going through amongst each other. And from this, we are able to understand that there is a system that exists that causes these problems that you have, and you have to respond accordingly. And that is exactly what this book discussed. This book that I'm holding, Look for Me in the Whirlwind, the Panther 21 discussed their upbringing and discussed what led to them being a part of the Black Panther Party. Brother, you have been involved in organized political action for quite some time, but prior to that, you were involved in the street. You know, what was, as you began to study political theory, you know, how were you able to look back in your street life and relate that? Because Malcolm was able to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I related, understood that, you know, the ideas of the street, you know, ripping people off, you know, trying to be slick, you know, all these type of things, you know, as I began to study, I understood that this was a culture that I had acquired, you know, through being in the street, you know, so I acquired another culture, a culture that said, stand up to oppressors, you know, be courageous, you know, be principled, you know, and do what's right, you know, and you're going to win that way. This is how we're going to be successful, you know, by the righteousness of our struggle, by being engaged in a principled struggle, you understand, that can be recognized, you know, even when the enemy tries to slander you and say that you know, doing something else, you know, make up all type of lies, but you know, but your action and what you do, you know, becomes historical proof of who you are and what you are and what you're doing, you know, and I always say that, and you know, in this struggle, you know, it's about politics. You know, politics of who's going to rule, who makes all the decisions that decide whether we live or die. You know, what political decision decide what your lifespan is going to be. You know, and so you know, Brother Frank talked about the truth. Truth is our main weapon. The main weapon against the enemy is the truth. So we must stand up and tell the truth. Do our study so we'll know the truth and understand that as we stand on the truth, you know, and use the truth as a weapon, indeed we're going to win. And for those who engage in struggle, engage in righteous struggle, you know, be righteous in your struggle, you know, so that the people, you understand, will pick this up and understand that the struggle has to be righteousness, and the people will love you. You understand? When you engage in war, Brother Frank talked about Palestine. You know, so what I say about that is that when you engage in war, that you follow the principles of war laid down by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which said, "Do not kill women, children, nor the elders in war. Do not kill innocent civilians." You know, they try to say that on October 7th that you know that some of this was violated. You know, but the people who engaged in that attack on Israel say that you know, ain't no such thing as unarmed settlers. You know, they don't exist nowhere in the world, unarmed settlers. You know, so when you engage against the enemy, always you know, employ those righteous techniques, you know, that can be an inspiration and can be an example for people to take up in their struggle, you know. And this is what our political prisoners engaged in, and this is the message for today. You understand? And you know, I want the brothers and sisters out there to know in our heart, to feel it in your bones, to let the truth run through your blood like a mighty stream. You understand? Become a very, very great, courageous ocean of people, you know, fighting for what is righteous, you know, and cannot be stopped. Ain't nothing in the world can stop us when we stand on the truth. You understand? Because falsehood is an ever vanishing thing. Black power.
So y'all know what it is. We're gonna close out right now. So make time to write to a political prisoner. Keep Malcolm in your heart. Keep Malcolm in your actions. Join us, the December 12th movement, this Sunday at Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, the State Building, 12 o'clock noon, as we shut down these stores in economic moment of silence. You know, so peace, be safe in your travels, and don't let political prisoners die in prison. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.